Today I'm gonna show you a 2015 drama romance movie called Natasha. So let's begin. The movie begins, and we see a boy named Mark. Mark was partying here with his friends. After the party was over, Mark goes to a room to have physical with a girl, but this girl refuses to be physical with Mark, because of which Mark quietly leaves from here. Mark comes to his house. After coming home, Mark watches videos of Mia Khalifa in his laptop, and falls asleep. The next day Mark's mom picks it up, and says that today his uncle is coming to meet him, so get up early and get ready. Next we see Mark's uncle, who comes to Mark's house with his wife Gina. Gina was from Russia. They were having dinner here together, when Mark's eyes fall on Gina's bra, because of which Mark starts looking at Gina's bra. After dinner, Mark's mom tells Mark that Gina is going to Russia today, because Gina had already had a marriage, with whom she has a 14-year-old daughter, and she will go to Russia to get her. A few days later we see Mark's family, who had come to pick up Gina at the airport. Gina comes here with her daughter Natasha. Mark meets Natasha here for the first time. A few days later, Mark's uncle makes his second marriage to Gina. After marriage everyone comes to Mark's house, and party here. Mark was here looking only at Natasha. After the party is over, Mark brings Natasha to his room. Natasha asks, "What do you do most of the time in your room?" On this Mark tells Natasha that I play video games in my room, and study. Natasha says, "Have you ever brought a girl to your room, and got physical with her?" Mark calms down after listening to Natasha, and says that you are only 14 years old, and how can you talk about being physical at such a young age? Don't you feel embarrassed of all these? On this, Natasha says that no, I do not feel embarrassed of all these things, because I've been physical with more than 100 people, and if you feel like it, you too can be physical with me. Mark says that your mom has married my uncle, because of which you are my cousin's sister. Hearing this, Natasha says that I don't care. Anyway, my mom is a very cheapish type of woman, because I've seen them get physical with others many times. Mark suddenly goes silent, and it doesn't say anything. One day Mark's mom comes to him, and she tells Mark that Natasha has come to this city for the first time, because of which she does not know much about the things here, and he doesn't even have any friends here. That's why until Natasha makes someone her friend here, you stay with her. Anyway, she seems to be your cousin sister. The next day Mark comes to Natasha's house, where Natasha's mom tells Mark about Natasha, and says, Natasha is still a little girl, so if she says something wrong to you, don't be angry with her. Natasha's mom asks Natasha to open the door. Natasha opens the door. Then her mom asks her to get ready and go out with Mark, but Natasha, angry at her mother, leaves the room. Mark also goes after Natasha. Mark asks Natasha, "Why were you angry with your mom?" Then Natasha tells it that she does not like her mother at all. Rather, she hates her a lot. Mark talks to Natasha here, and he brings it to one of his friends, Rufus's house. Natasha loves meeting Rufus. Natasha asks Mark about Rufus. Mark tells Natasha that Rufus lives here alone, because a few days ago, his parents have gone for a trip to another city. After this, Mark and Natasha come to a restaurant and have dinner. Mark leaves Natasha at his house. Natasha tells Mark, "Don't you come to my house tomorrow, because tomorrow I myself will come to your house." The next day, when Mark was studying in his house, then Natasha comes to meet him at his house. Both sit and talk to each other, and then go out for a walk by bicycle. Mark meets some of his friends on the way, and he gives them drugs. Seeing that Natasha learns that Mark has drugs, so when she comes home, she asks Mark for drugs. Mark also gives drugs to Natasha. Both of them sit in the room and take drugs. Natasha asks Mark for his laptop. Then Mark also gives her permission to use his laptop. As soon as Natasha opens the laptop, she sees adult videos playing in the laptop. Actually, Mark was watching this adult video, but he forgot to turn it off. Natasha enjoys watching these videos. Natasha opens her Facebook profile on her laptop, and starts showing her private photos to Mark. Seeing the photos, Mark's weapon stands up. Natasha says, "Would you like to be physical with me?" Before Mark says anything here, Natasha starts taking off her clothes, due to which Mark becomes physical in his room with Natasha. After getting physical, both of them start liking each other, and spend more and more time with each other. Both of them are physical several times a day. Mark is slowly starting to get attracted towards Natasha. One day Mark's uncle and Natasha's mom go for a trip, due to which Natasha has to stay at Mark's house. Mark and Natasha are in the room together, and talk. Natasha says that she enjoys being with Mark, and wishing she could stay here forever. Mark says yes, why not? You can stay here as long as you want. Natasha sadly tells Mark that her mom is cheating on Mark's uncle, because her mom still goes to visit another man. Natasha says that she told her uncle everything about it, but they didn't believe her words at all. Next we see Mark's uncle and Natasha's mom who just got back home from the trip. Natasha's mom asks Natasha to go home with her, but Natasha says that she doesn't want to leave because she enjoys being here. Natasha's mom says to this, that I know why you don't want to leave here, and I know all the things you have done with Mark. On hearing this, Natasha starts fighting with her mother, but Mark's father catch Natasha. Natasha was very angry with her mom. Mark's mom and dad exhort a lot to Natasha, due to which Natasha has to go back home with her mom. The next day, Mark comes to meet Natasha at her house, where Natasha's mom tells Mark that, son, it is not your fault, but Natasha is a spoiled girl, whose habit is quite dirty. She has become physical with many old people as well as young people, saying that Natasha's mom closes the door and asks Mark to leave from here. Mark leaves from here. This night Natasha comes to Mark's house with all her belongings. Natasha tells Mark that she is going back to her city, so will you go with me? Hearing this, Mark does not say anything after. Natasha tells that her mom has got divorced with her uncle, because I was getting physical with your uncle, and while getting physical, my mom saw me, and I wanted to so that there would be a fight between my mom and your uncle, so that my mom wouldn't shit your uncle can do. Mark doesn't say anything over here, and it leads Natasha into the room. Natasha will leave tomorrow. Mark is saddened by this, because he fell in love with Natasha. In the morning, Mark gives Natasha some money from him, so that Natasha will have no problem leaving here. After this, Natasha leaves quietly, taking her belongings. In Mark's house, there was talk about his uncle's divorce. Why Gina took a divorce from Mark's uncle. Mark knew the whole truth, but it doesn't tell anyone. After a few days, Mark's friend Rufus calls it, but Mark doesn't pick up Rufus's call. One day Mark comes to Rufus's house. Mark sees Natasha here, who is now living with Rufus. Rufus tells Mark that I called many times to tell you about Natasha, but you didn't pick up my call. Natasha looks at Mark here. Mark looks at Natasha angrily. Mark understands here that love affair is nothing, rather it is all a cheat. Mark also takes his bicycle, leaves from here in anger. Natasha just keeps looking at it. After coming home, Mark thinks of Natasha. And with this, the movie ends here. Thanks for watching, guys.